Hi, it's Sue. Thanks for joining me for today's Bible reading. I am reading for May 11th, and it is for 2nd Chronicles 1 through 5, so welcome to the beginning of a brand new Bible book. There are 20 20 readings for this book altogether. So kind of medium sized as Bible sections go, Bible books go, that is. So let's get started. Verse 1. Solomon, the son of David, was firmly established in his kingdom, and Yahweh his God was with him and made him exceedingly great. Solomon spoke to all Israel, to the captains of thousands and hundreds, to the judges, and to every prince in all Israel, the heads of the fathers' households. So Solomon and all the assembly with him went to the high place that was at Gibeon, for God's tent of meeting was there, which Yahweh's servant Moses had made in the wilderness. I wonder how old the tent of the meeting was by then. I wonder if it had been repaired. I wonder how many people serviced it every single day and what actually went on up there, daily life. Very interesting. I wonder how long it had been up on this hill at that point in time. But David had brought God's ark up from Kiriath Jearim to the place that David had prepared for it, for he had pitched a tent for it at Jerusalem. Moreover, the bronze altar that Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, had made was there before Yahweh's tabernacle, and Solomon and the assembly were seeking counsel there. Solomon went up there to the bronze altar before Yahweh, which was at the tent of meeting, and offered 1,000 burnt offerings on it. That night God appeared to Solomon and said to him, "Ask for what you want me to give you." Solomon said to God, "You have shown me great loving kindness. You have shown great loving kindness to David my father, and have made me king in his place. Now, Yahweh God, let your promise to David my father be established, for you have made me king over a people like the dust of the earth in multitude. Now give me wisdom and knowledge that I may go out and come in before this people, for who can judge this great people of yours?" God said to Solomon, "Because this was in your heart, and you have not asked for riches, wealth, honor, or the life of those who hate you, nor yet have you asked for long life, but have asked for wisdom and knowledge for yourself, that you may judge my people, over whom I have made you king. Therefore wisdom and knowledge is granted to you. I will give you riches, wealth, and honor, such as none of the kings have had who have been before you, and none after you will have." So Solomon came from the high place that was at Gibeon, from before the tent of meeting, to Jerusalem, and he reigned over Israel. Solomon gathered chariots and horsemen. He had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen that he placed in the chariot cities with the king at Jerusalem. The king made silver and gold to be as common as stones in Jerusalem, and he made cedars to be as common as the sycamore trees that are in the lowland. The horses which Solomon had were brought out of Egypt and from Kue. The king's merchants purchased them from Kue. They brought up and brought out of Egypt a chariot for 600 pieces of silver and a horse for 150. They also exported them to the Hittite kings and the Syrian kings. Now Solomon had decided to build a house for Yahweh's name and a house for his kingdom. Solomon counted out 70,000 men to bear burdens, 80,000 men who were stonecutters in the mountains, and 3,600 to oversee them. Solomon sent to Hiram the king of Tyre, saying, "As you dealt with David my father and sent him cedars to build him a house in which to dwell, so deal with me. Behold, I am about to build a house for the name of Yahweh my God, to dedicate it to him, to burn before him incense of sweet spices, for the continual showbread, and for the burnt offerings morning and evening, on the Sabbaths, on the new moons, and on the set feasts of Yahweh our God. This is an ordinance forever to Israel. The house which I am building will be great, for our God is greater than all gods." Wait, let me back up. So speaking of these set feasts of Yahweh, we are in the middle of one of those seasons right now, as many know. We had Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, and we're coming into the Feast of Pentecost. Now, we're right in the middle of the counting of the Omer, as it is. You can look that up. And the time, I believe, when Jesus walked on the earth, those 40 days in between, when he was resurrected and when he ascended. He came back, and a lot of people came back with him. And he walked and talked and ate and drank. And then he ascended to heaven. That's why we need to read our Bibles, so we can know the truth about some of these things you don't normally hear spoken about in church. So anyway, that's the time period we are in right now. I think if I have it correct, the Feast of Pentecost is around May 27th, 28th, somewhere around there this year. So we are still in that time period right now. All right, moving on. So that was the set feasts of Yahweh our God. This is an ordinance forever to Israel. That's why they're still celebrated. And again, there are spring feasts and fall feasts. And we are in the middle of the spring feasts right now. All the spring feasts were fulfilled in Jesus. The fall ones have yet to be in his return. All right, enough of that. Verse 7. Now, this is chapter 2, verse 7. Now, therefore, send me a man skillful to work in gold and silver, in bronze and iron, and in purple, crimson, and blue, and who knows how to engrave engravings, to be with the skillful men who are with me in Judah and Jerusalem, whom David my father provided. Send me also cedar trees, cypress trees, and algum trees out of Lebanon, for I know that your servants know how to cut timber in Lebanon. Behold, my servants will be with your servants, even to prepare me timber in abundance, for the house which I am about to build will be great and wonderful. Behold, I will give to your servants, the cutters who cut timber, 20,000 cores of beaten wheat. Let's see what a core is. 55.9 US gallons, or 211 liters. So he said, I will give to them 20,000 cores of beaten wheat, 20,000 baths of barley, 20,000 baths of wine. Okay, let's see what a bath is. A bath is about 5.5 gallons, or 21 liters. How can that be? Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So 20,000 baths of barley, 20,000 baths of wine, and 20,000 baths of oil. Then Hiram, king of Tyre, answered in writing, which he sent to Solomon, because Yahweh loves people, he has made you king over them. I love that. Don't you love that? Because Yahweh loves people. Hiram continued, Blessed be Yahweh, the God of Israel, who made heaven and earth, who has given to David, the king, a wise son, endowed with discretion and understanding, who would build a house for Yahweh and a house for his kingdom. Now I have sent a skillful man endowed with understanding, Hiram Abi, the son of a woman of the daughters of Dan, and his father was a man of Tyre, skillful to work in gold, in silver, and bronze, and iron, and stone, and timber, and in purple, and blue, in fine linen, and in crimson. Also to engrave any kind of engraving, and to devise any device, that there may be a place appointed to him within your skillful men, and with the skillful men of my lord David, your father. So he's getting engineers set up for these projects. Now therefore the wheat, the barley, the oil, the wine, which my lord has spoken of, let him send to his servants, and we will cut wood out of Lebanon as much as you need. We will bring it to you in rafts by the sea to Joppa, then you shall carry it up to Jerusalem. Solomon counted all the foreigners who were in the land of Israel, up to the census with which David his father had counted them, and they found 153,600. He set 70,000 of them to bear burdens, 80,000 who were stone cutters in the mountains, 3,600 overseers to assign the people their work. Chapter 3. Then Solomon began to build Yahweh's house at Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, where Yahweh appeared to David his father, which he prepared in the place that David had appointed, on the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. He began to build in the 2nd day of the 2nd month in the 4th year of his reign. Now these are the foundations which Solomon laid for the building of God's house, the length of cubits after the first measure of 60 cubits, and the width 20 cubits. The porch that was in front, its length according to the width of the house, was 20 cubits, and the height 120, and he overlaid it with pure gold. He made the larger room with a ceiling of cypress wood, which he overlaid with fine gold, and ornamented it with palm trees and chains. Someone once said that all the palm trees and the decoration, pomegranates and such, was to emulate Eden, the garden. So I don't know about all that. Just relaying the thought. He decorated the house with precious stones for beauty. The gold was gold from Parvaim. He also overlaid the house, the beams, the thresholds, its walls, its doors with gold, and engraved cherubim on the walls. He made the most holy place. Its length, according to the width of the house, was 20 cubits, and its width 20 cubits, and he overlaid it with fine gold, amounting to 600 talents. The weight of the nails was 50 shekels of gold. He overlaid the upper rooms with gold. In the most holy place he made 2 cherubim by carving, and they overlaid them with gold. The wings of the cherubim were 20 cubits long. The wing of the one was 5 cubits, reaching to the other wall of the house, and the other wing was 5 cubits, reaching to the wing of the other cherub. The wing of the other cherub was 5 cubits, reaching to the wall of the house, and the other wing was 5 cubits, joining to the wing of the other cherub. The wing of these cherubim spread themselves out 20 cubits. They stood on their feet, and their faces were toward the house. He made the veil of the blue, purple, crimson, and fine linen, and ornamented it with cherubim. Also, he made before the house 2 pillars of 35 cubits height, and the capital that was on the top of each of them was 5 cubits. He made chains in the inner sanctuary and put them on the tops of the pillars, and he made 100 pomegranates and put them on the chains. He set up the pillars before the temple, one on the right hand and the other on the left, and called the name of that on the right hand Jachin, and the name of that on the left Boaz. Chapter 4. Then he made an altar of bronze, 20 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 10 cubits high. Also he made the molten sea of 10 cubits from brim to brim. It was round, 5 cubits high, and 30 cubits in circumference. Under it was the likeness of oxen which encircled it, for 10 cubits encircling the sea. The oxen were in 2 rows, cast when it was cast. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 looking to the north, 3 looking to the west, 3 looking to the south, and 3 looking to the east. And the sea was set on them above, and all their hindquarters were inward. It was a handbreadth thick, and its brim was made like the brim of a cup, like the flower of a lily. It received and held 3,000 baths. Let's see how much that was. One bath is 5.6 gallons, or 21.1 liters. So if it's 5.5 gallons and it was 3,000, quite a bit. Verse 6. He also made 10 basins and put 5 on the right hand and 5 on the left to wash in them. The things that belonged to the burnt offering were washed in them, but the sea was for the priests to wash in. He made 10 lampstands of gold according to the ordinances concerning them. He set them in the temple, 5 on the right and 5 on the left. He also made 10 tables and placed them in the temple, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left. He made 100 basins of gold. Furthermore, he made the court of the priests, the great court, the doors for the court, and overlaid their doors with bronze. He set the sea on the right side of the house eastward toward the south. Hiram made the pots, the shovels, and the basins. So Hiram finished doing the work that he did for King Solomon in God's house. The 2 pillars, the bowls, the capitals which were on the top of the pillars, the 2 networks to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on top of the pillars, and the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the pillars. He also made the bases and made the basins on the bases, 1 sea and 12 oxen under it. Hiram his father also made the pots, the shovels, the forks, and all its vessels for King Solomon for Yahweh's house of bright bronze. The king cast them in the plain of the Jordan in the clay ground between Succoth and Zeradah. Thus Solomon made all these vessels in great abundance, for the weight of the bronze could not be determined. Solomon made all the vessels that were in God's house, the golden altar also, and the tables with showbread on them, and the lampstands with their lamps to burn according to the ordinance before the inner sanctuary of pure gold, and the flowers, the lamps, the tongs of gold that was perfect gold, the snuffers, the basins, the spoons, and the fire pans of pure gold. As for the entry of the house, its inner doors for the most holy place, and the doors for the main hall of the temple were gold. Chapter 5. Thus all the work that Solomon did for Yahweh's house was finished. Solomon brought in the things that David his father had dedicated, even silver, gold, and the vessels, and put them in the treasuries of God's house. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes, the princes of the fathers' households of the children of Israel, to Jerusalem to bring up the ark of Yahweh's covenant out of David's city, which is Zion. So all the men of Israel assembled themselves to the king at the feast, which was in the 7th month. All the elders of Israel came. The Levites took up the ark, and they brought up the ark, the tent of the meeting, and all the holy vessels that were in the tent. These the Levitical priests brought up. King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel were assembled to him, who were before the ark, sacrificing sheep and cattle that could not be counted or numbered for multitude. The priests brought in the ark of Yahweh's covenant to its place into the inner sanctuary of the house, to the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread out their wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered the ark and its poles above. The poles were so long that the end of the poles were seen from the ark in the front of the inner sanctuary, but they were not seen outside. And it is there to this day. There was nothing in the ark except 2 tablets which Moses put at Horeb when Yahweh made a covenant with the children of Israel when they came out of Egypt. When the priests had come out of the holy place, for the priests who were present had sanctified themselves and didn't keep their divisions, also the Levites who were the singers, all of them, even Asaph, Heman, Jeduthun, and their sons and their brothers, arrayed in fine linen with cymbals and stringed instruments and harps, stood at the east end of the altar, and with 120 priests sounding with trumpets. When the trumpeters and singers were as one, to make one sound to be heard in praising and thanking Yahweh. And when they lifted up their voice with the trumpets and with the cymbals and instruments of music and praised Yahweh, saying, For he is good, his loving kindness endures forever. Then the house was filled with a cloud. Even Yahweh's house is the best part. God entered the building after it was built. So it says, I have to read it again. Then the house was filled with a cloud, even Yahweh's house, so that the priest could not stand to minister by reason of the cloud, for Yahweh's glory filled God's house. That's it for today's reading. God bless you. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Thanks for joining me. And I'll see you tomorrow.